Were you told to rebound faster at a marching band rehearsal? Did you get tendonitis? You may be entitled to financial compensation. I don't know where I'm going with this video, but let's just start talking. Okay, so obviously, those of you who know me know I'm not a big fan of the approach where you try to rebound as fast as possible from your stroke. It is something I grew up with when I marched at North Coast Academy, and when I got a marimba in 2017, that's how I played until I got tendonitis. And I realized much later that that's not how you should play marimba. However, it's still taught widely. I was thinking about this because I kind of hurt myself playing drum set yesterday, so I've been wearing this. It's because I was messing around with some variable like my fulcrum or something while working on a bunch of right-hand ride cymbal patterns, and I woke up this morning with some pain. And I was thinking, I haven't felt this kind of pain in a long time. The last time I felt this pain was when I got a marimba and started playing several hours a day using piston strokes, because that's what we were taught at North Coast. And I know you're going to say, well, you're doing the piston stroke wrong. Is there a defense of the piston stroke? Yes. It's one way of playing, and there are many contexts in which you might want to do it. I mean, when you're playing really fast, if you're playing a really fast 2-mallet, like by nature, you're rebounding pretty much as fast as you can to set up the next stroke. Also, if you're playing, say you're playing some alternating strokes, nice and relaxed, but then you have to switch to double verts, that last rebound right before the first double vert is going to require you to kind of pop a mallet back up faster than usual to set up a double vert. Or if you're playing inside mallets, right, and you want to switch to double verts, well then, yeah, there's going to be a rebound where you set up a flat home base to play a double vert so it doesn't flam. These are valid use cases. And in method of movement, Lee Howard Stevens talks about the piston stroke. He draws his little graphs where he shows that it's the most efficient way to play in terms of your efficiency of your motions, yada, yada, yada. This doesn't change the fact that if you're an instructor and you're asking your kids to rebound faster and faster and faster, you're going to injure them. It's going to happen. I, for many, many years now, have not had any students get injuries. The last time I had a kid get injured who I taught was in 2019 at Dakota, where I thought I would start the season off by trying to establish a really strong foundation on the piston stroke because it was going to be one of our default strokes. I intended to have 2 default strokes that season, which would be a piston and then a legato. And we were going to interchange them based on context, which is something a lot of groups do. However, I made the mistake of starting them out on the piston stroke, getting frustrated when people would downstroke, so I'd tell them, you have to rebound more, you have to rebound faster, rebound, pop right back up, like there's a rubber band attached to that mallet, pulls it right back up. Told them all these things, and had a kid get tendonitis in both hands. And is that my fault? Yeah, I'm going to take ownership of that. Like, as an instructor, you have to take ownership of these things. If your students are getting injured because of the things you're telling them, you shouldn't just blame the kid. I've seen a lot of people do this. They subscribe to a certain technique philosophy, and then when it goes wrong for a student, they blame the student. Well, they were probably doing it wrong. The thing is, all these kids are just doing their best to do what they are told, And say they were doing it wrong, why didn't you tell them? Say they were too tense, why didn't you tell them to be more relaxed? Like, it all comes back to the instructions they are being given, right? So you don't turn and blame the kid when they get tendonitis from playing the way you taught them to play. So I really had to look in the mirror as an instructor and decide, is this something I want to keep doing? Am I going to hurt more kids this way? This was after I got tendonitis back in 2017. So I got it from playing that way. I taught kids to play that way. Kids got tendonitis. So I had to decide, okay, am I going to keep teaching this? And do I still teach it as something that we sometimes do? Yeah, because of the reasons I already said in this video. Sometimes you need to be able to rebound the mallet really fast, but most of the time you don't. Most of the things you can play, most of the things you will play can be achieved without really focusing too much on the rebound. I think it's such a mistake to think really hard about the rebound of the mallet. Think about the rebound of the mallet happens after you already made the sound. Whether or not the thing sounded good, that already happened. And now you're just trying to get this out of the way like touching a hot stove. Like, what are you doing? Okay. Okay, so another case study. So you got me getting tendonitis. You have my student getting tendonitis back at Dakota in 2019. I taught an independent group in 2019. We don't have to say which one, but a student there who was one-off center, really good player, definitely doing what she was told, got tendonitis. And it's because there's this philosophy of this is how we're going to play, and we're not going to change that. It's just very frustrating because, you know, some people can keep up with the physical demand of this day in, day out. Some people can't. And if you can't, but you're expected to not change your technique to adapt to you as an individual and your anatomy, you're expected to keep playing that way. I mean, it's going to end in disaster, right? And I think it eventually ended up being fine for this student, but like there should be no point in your musical career where you get tendonitis. Like you were doing something wrong if you got tendonitis. So here's the thing. I've seen it enough times, and it's happened to me, where I know that teaching this approach and having it be the sole approach that you play is going to result in at least several people being injured. Is it worth several people being injured just so you can have a flatter home base or look more visually unified across the ensemble? Why do we even care if it looks visually unified? Like real talk. Are the visual judges looking at the height of the mallets and thinking, oh, that's not a straight line, let's dock them on visual? Music judges, okay, to be fair, some of them listen with their eyes, and that sucks. That's why I've for many years been an advocate of taking out uniformity from the music sheets. Theoretically, at least in my opinion, I believe if you have a bunch of people playing, and they're playing different ways based on their own anatomy, and they get a good sound, a uniform sound, that's all that matters. And you see this with, like, you know, Infinity had to play with Burton grip because of some sort of injury. If anyone knows more about that, post it in the comments. Obviously, Vanguard has had a player in the past who's missing a finger and played Burton grip. There's a lot of groups that actually don't take the visual uniformity of their technique very seriously and are still very, very successful. And it's because they're so good musically that they're just undeniably good musically, and the music judges can't say anything. I'll make a bold statement. I think if you had a snare line that sounded super clean, and some of them were playing match and some of them were playing traditional, that should fly. I know that's probably controversial. Okay, but I'm going off on a tangent. The whole point of this video is, okay, if you're an educator and you're telling kids to do something that is injuring them, you have to look in the mirror and think about how you can move on from this, because we can't keep doing it. The community can't keep doing it. The other thing is, I think we have to think about there are so many different ways to play. In which cases is this way of playing viable, and in which cases is this way of playing viable? There's different contexts, right? So if you subscribe and, oh, this is a great way to play, and then you say, regardless of context, that's how we're going to play, that really boxes you in, doesn't it? You know, back when I marched Cavaliers Indoor, the membership definitely had ownership of how we'd play certain things. Like, I remember Nathan Huxtable was like, guys, this 9-lip perm's not going to happen if we try to have a flat home base. We're gonna have to play it like this. And we were all like, yeah, that makes sense, dude. Like, just the logical approach, you know, doing things logically, not doing things illogically. So yeah, it's just a gripe with the activity, the way so many groups decide, oh, this is the one way we play because it works, and we're only ever going to play this one way. Or the groups that say they play different ways, but then they never actually do because everyone there just religiously believes in the one way. You know, it's like, you got all these cults out there. All right, I'll end the video there. Thank you for watching.